On today's show,
LeBron James is frustrated with the officials, and the Celtics are still chasing the Raptors for that number 2 spot.
in a Global Games edition of Crossfire, we debate the biggest international surprise, best foreign player ever, and the country that needs a game.
And we'll revisit some of our favorite President Obama basketball moments.
It's Wednesday, January 11th. The starter starts now.
Good evening, sweet world, and welcome to The Starters. Whether you're listening to the podcast, joining us live right now on NBA TV, or later on YouTube, we're happy to have you. I'm J.E. Skeets, and alongside me, as always, that's Taz Mellis.
Austin Mahone is a singing sensation.
To his right, the international man of mystery, taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Friend.
Lee, and last, certainly not least, over there, it is the bearded one, looking like a real dad today, Trey Kirby. Hey, yo! TK, what's up?
Well, I'm wearing a button-up polo shirt, and I guess that's a dad move. But I'm also here at the internet looking for your best tweets at #TheStarters. And guys, Manu Ginobili has a decades-long NBA career full of big shots and game winners. But last night, not so clutch, down 2. Spurs run a beautiful play to get Manu a wide-open 3 from the corner, and he doinks it off the side of the backboard. Cue the sad trombone. But it brings us to today's question. What's the most embarrassing end-of-game moment you've seen? And there's one that sticks out to me. It's Michael Ruffin's infamous ball toss back in 2007. Ruffin thinks the Wizards have the game won, chucks the ball in the air to let the time tick off, only to see Morris Peterson grab it and hit the most unbelievable shot in NBA history. Still can't believe this actually happened in an NBA game.
Forced overtime, and the Raps would go on to win.
That's exactly right, Skeets. But we want to hear from you out there, so let us know on Twitter. What's the most embarrassing end-of-game moment that you've ever seen? Send us your best tweets to #TheStarters, and we'll hear from you a little bit later.
Break
All
out
right.
the salami and cheese, Mama. We're going to overtime.
All right. We got a fun show tonight. We got a Global Games edition of Crossfire, and we are going to revisit some of our favorite President Obama basketball moments. There's a whole lot to pick from. But first, we start with a little Is This News? Trey's rounded up some recent NBA headlines. He's going to pitch them to us. We're going to determine whether or not they're actually news. Trey, first up.
All right, our first headline comes from ESPN, and it reads, sources, LeBron frustrated by how he's been officiated this season. Is this news?
I know the people around him want to make it news. Richard Jefferson spoke out. Ty Lewis spoke out in the past. But I think this isn't news because it all balances out. Because he does get some superstar calls. And at the same time, it's very, very difficult to officiate him. So referees miss some calls because people bounce off him. Because he's
too strong.
Such a strong guy. Yeah, Ty Lue compared him to Shaq. And I don't disagree. And it's a different way. But when he goes in and goes through the lane and takes a hit, his body just doesn't react.
Yeah.
It doesn't go one way or the other. And that's why I think he's started to, flick his head back to get some calls because he's has to get calls.
Yeah, it is an instance that happens with a lot of superstars. We know that the superstar calls happen, but there are times where referees look at these players and go, he's so good, he doesn't need that call. It just happens. It's a way of life in the NBA. And again, LeBron, you mentioned the Shaq comparison. I think that's exactly the same as it was. Shaq used to get beaten up, guys used to jump all over him, and sometimes he would get a foul call and sometimes he wouldn't. And LeBron, he's going into the lane. He's doing the things he's supposed to be doing, getting contact, going up for high percentage baskets, and not always getting the call. So I don't think he's in the wrong to call out the refs here and say, listen, you got to call me the same as you call everyone else.
Yeah, that's what he and, or I guess his teammates, you said there, Tass, and his coach, they're sort of alluding to. They're like, LeBron, yeah, sure, he gets like 7.1 free throw attempts per game. That's great. But you see some of these other guys who maybe are a little bit more jump shooters in DeRozan, let's say. Not that they're not attacking as well, because they obviously are and they're getting the line. But I think he was comparing it to a Butler or a DeRozan where LeBron's like, hey, I drive more, I play more minutes, and I'm still not getting more free throw attempts than some of these guys.
Yeah.
But they keep doing this. It came up in the playoffs a couple times. Obviously in the finals it came up. Yeah, this is just
one thing I will say
superstar.
about LeBron is he knows how to use his body well to establish position. And just because there's contact doesn't mean there's a foul. So he might be feeling that contact, but if he's just maneuvering somebody out the way, that doesn't mean there's a foul there as well.
Yeah.
He's very smart at doing that.
The real news from last night with LeBron James playing should be the Utah Jazz picking up a very solid win against the Cavs. And they played incredible, and they're going to have a couple All-Stars, I think, going to New Orleans, be it Hayward and Gobert, one of them or both of them. That was a huge quality win. Obviously gets a good Cavs team who was just working Kyle Korver into the mix. That's the story.
Yeah.
That's the headline.
And what really stands out watching this Utah Jazz team is that they can play like the other great teams in this league, like Cleveland, like Golden State, like Houston. They can go small if they need to.
Yep.
They can stay big because the Cavs blitzed them. Coming out of half, they were a veteran team. They said, well, they've got two bigs in Gobert and Favors. Let's get all over them, make them make decisions.
Right.
And they went on a minus 14 run where they scored 14 more points coming out of the gate. They had to go small. And they reacted, but they can. They can go Trey Lyles at the 4. They can go Boris Diaw
Right.
at the 5. That makes them a very, very dangerous team in the postseason.
Huge win. All right, Trey, next headline.
All right, our next headline comes from ESPN, and it says, Celtics still chasing Raptors in Eastern Conference. Is this news or only for non-Raptor fans?
Not really news, because over the last 4 years, the Raptors have pretty significant advantage.
They've had
over
their
Boston,
number.
10 and 4. And I think what you saw last night as well, the biggest weakness of the Celtics on the rebounding edge went to the Raptors. Jonas Valanciunas, we know, is not a fantastic rebounder, but last night he
He was a monster last night.
a monster, 23 rebounds. So really, the Raptors were down big. They fought back. They've got 2 All-Stars themselves. They came back and pulled off a win at home. So I don't really think this is significant news.
I think this is news for a couple reasons. Because Jonas Valanciunas realizes that he can destroy the Boston Celtics because he doesn't play like that this often enough, and he has an advantage against the Celtics. So it is news in that regard. But this is also news because this could be a rivalry going forward. They got 2 more games this season, and this seems to be the battle for the second best team in the Eastern Conference. We could see them in the postseason. They take care of business in the first round.
Right.
This could be a rivalry. That's why I think it's news. Also, DeMar had a great game, but Avery Bradley wasn't there.
Yeah.
And you know, historically he does play well against Avery Bradley, but not this season.
Was anyone stopping DeRozan last night though in that second half?
Well, I don't
honestly?
know. You know, this season when Avery Bradley's on the floor against DeRozan, he shot 37%. When he's off the floor, he shot 51%. So I think Avery Bradley does make a difference.
He is great.
When
He's
out
all
there.
NBA defense for sure.
But the Raptors were going to win this basketball game no matter what. You're right about that, Skeets. Coming off 2 tough losses to the Rockets and the Bulls, they weren't going to lose again. Even though that was a tough back-to-back,
Yeah.
the Raptors were not going to lose again. But this is a nice little battle going forward.
I agree. That was a signature win for the Raptors. They lost 5 of their last 7, and they hadn't really beaten a quality team in this league all season long. They're taking care of all the crappy teams, but hadn't beat one of those better teams, which the Celtics are. That was huge. DeRozan last night, go back and watch the second half, the fourth quarter. That was like the best Kobe impersonation I've ever seen, at least in the last couple of years. The way DeRozan was getting his shots. He models his game after Kobe. He's the king of the mid-range jumper. And it was crazy. It's like, that's why I don't know if Bradley really would have helped all that much last night, because DeRozan, these were still contested shots.
Yeah.
He just gets to his spot, rises up, and when he's got it going, he knocks it down.
Question is for the
lefty was
Celtics,
great.
6 weeks before the trade deadline, do they go get a center?
Yeah.
Because
Right,
you
need
know, they're
one.
not rushing anything, and they've got the Nets draft pick this year. But if they want to make some headway against the Cavs will just offensive rebound that team to death, right?
All right, Trey, next headline.
All right, our next headline comes from CSN Bay Area, and it reads, Source, Cousins intends to sign massive extension with Kings. Is this news?
Nah. It's too early to talk summer. Are you thinking about what trip you're making this summer?
Probably is.
Where you go?
not.
Where you
No,
going?
I might
Where
be
you going?
applying for a green card. I might have to stay in the country. I may not be going anywhere.
Where are the TBTs going to come
I
from?
know, man. I don't know.
You've done
It's too
Portugal,
early.
you've done Greece. It's too early.
yeah.
I don't think DeMarcus is really seriously thinking about what he's doing in the summer. I don't think that he has no intentions of staying in Sacramento. I don't think that at all. But I don't think he's really thinking about putting his name on the dotted line. He's thinking about making the playoffs for the first time in his NBA career.
It doesn't do him any good to say, no, I'm not thinking
Right,
about the
right,
Kings. Yeah.
right.
His agent's probably just saying, yep, we want to stay. This is our future.
Especially when it
see
could
that
be
number?
like a $207
Yeah.
million mega extension
Yeah,
because
yeah.
of the new CBA that will kick in here, and you got the designated player there for your stars. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how it works actually with players. You're right, Skeets. He can make over $200 million with his own team, but then you can look at another team and say, well, because the salary cap is jumping up, I can still make a heck of a lot more money than I've made in my career. So I think it kind of works both ways. You could jump ship because there is more money elsewhere, but I mean, this is what DeMarcus Cousins has done with the Sacramento Kings. This being year number 7, he's only won 30 games once, and that was last year.
Oh.
This is what he's trying to do. He's trying to win a playoff game, perhaps.
Yeah, and you said July's a long time away. Things could go sour with Cousins and the Kings. Things are all right now. They're in a playoff race. You know, he seems to get along with obviously ownership and his coach. He needs some help there in terms of the personnel with him. Who's the second best player on the Kings right now? Besides Rudy Gay, let's say, who's
I
probably
guess.
on who they're going to move. Who's the second best after that? Garrett Temple?
DC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's rough. It's rough.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. Why wouldn't he say, I'm going to stay
Yeah.
here and we'll figure it out?
And that was a great post-game interview he had.
Oh, man. Oh,
Yeah, he's got a future as a broadcaster afterwards.
I agree with that. All right,
Full of
Trent,
jokes.
think we got time for one more.
All right, sounds good. Our final headline comes from NBA.com, and it reads, Kevin Garnett back at Clippers practice as consultant. is this news, and does he still work with us?
A former player working out with other current players, that's not really news, is it? Especially Kevin Garnett.
He's already worked out with the Clippers
Yeah.
earlier this season in training camp, and now he's back at doing it. I like that he's working out with DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah.
The footage we saw on Clippers.com. I mean, that's great. DeAndre could obviously use some help on the offensive end, and you got one of the best players to ever play in Kevin Garnett, teaching you the ins and outs and obviously how to work inside. That's great.
It is great news. And you mentioned Trey, you said, is he our colleague still? Well, I think it's good news because for Area 21 on TNT on Thursday nights,
Yeah.
he can provide some stories from Clipperland as well. It provides some good fodder. It's some good stuff.
Are you sure they don't make him sign on the dotted
Yeah, you're
line
probably
there?
right.
You're not
He
allowed
wouldn't
to
do
talk
it.
about that.
He wouldn't disclose things he couldn't disclose.
He wouldn't
I'm sure.
disclose things if you. He
He's got the
doesn't
cuss
stop
button.
talking.
Yeah, he's got the cuss button there. All right.
He's loyal to Doc.
We got lots more still to come here on the show tonight. When we return, Tass and I go head-to-head in an international global games edition of Crossfire. So don't go anywhere. We need a cuss button. Crossfire!
Yeah! Woo! Welcome to Crossfire. This is how it works. Trey will give Skeets and me 3 topics. We'll debate each one, and at the end of it all, Trey will declare a winner. Trey, what's our first topic?
Tomorrow, the Pacers and Nuggets square off in London while the Mavs and Suns throw down in Mexico City. So we've got a global games edition of Crossfire for you today. Our first question, who's been the biggest international surprise this season? Here we go.
I think it's the only Greek freakier than Tass, and that is the true Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Oh.
He's a household name that no one can pronounce. He really is. And that's why it's a surprise. Maybe it's not a shock that he got good, because we knew he was eventually going to get good. It's just how quickly he got great. He's averaging 24 points per game, 9 boards, 5.7 assists, 2.1 blocks, and 1.9 steals. If he keeps that up, he'll be the only player in NBA history to have those types of numbers. He's just become a superstar overnight, so I gotta go with him. Biggest surprise.
The freak has been real freaky, but I'm going to give you a guy who came out of nowhere. Nikola Jokic. A guy you called Arvydas Sabonis the other day. He
Yeah,
plays like him.
true.
He's a big who can pass, baby. 5 assists per game since December 1st. He passes in the post, out of the post. He's just a real old school guy, and I love him. He didn't start the year as a starter. I think Mike Malone realizes now he's got to play big minutes. And since December 1st, when I mentioned he's got 5 assists, he also has 17 and 9, which are great, great numbers. Can't wait to watch him in the Rising Stars Challenge.
Yeah,
he's
for
going to
sure.
be
But
great.
Giannis is right behind LeBron in All-Star votes already.
We knew he was going to be great.
Yeah,
all
not
right,
that
all
quick,
right.
not
Break
that
it up, break it up. Round 2 here from Hank Biasati to Juancho Hernan Gomez. There's been international stars in the NBA for the past 70 years. So tell me, who's the best international player of all time? Here we go.
Hank Biasati. I'm going with Dirk Nowitzki, the #1 international scorer ever, 6th all time,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
He's going to get to 30,000 points probably before this year ends. Hopefully have a beautiful 20-year career if he plays till next year. He's got the lean back like that everybody is emulating. And he toppled the best player of this generation in 2011 when he beat LeBron James. The career is perfect.
Dirk might be the greatest international scorer of all time, but he's not the greatest international two-way player of all time, which in my books makes you the best international player of all time, and that's Hakeem Olajuwon. Also one of my favorite players of all time.
okay.
Hakeem the Dream, baby. We got the jersey hanging on the set. 22 points per game, 11 boards, 2.5 assists, the steals, 3 blocks, amazing shooting, unbelievable player efficiency rating, all the wins, 2-time champ, got an MVP, 12-time All-Star. I could go on and on and on. He's unbelievable because he played both sides of the floor.
But he
what?
went to school in the U.S.
He's
and-
Nigerian!
I know he's
His name
Nigerian.
used to be Akeem Abdul Olajuwon.
He also
changed it.
He also played with the USA across
Oh,
his chest.
man.
He gets
You can't tell me Akeem's not
disqualified.
international.
Whoa, final round, and it's getting heated. Believe it or not, the NBA has only played regular season global games in Japan, Mexico, and England. So guys, tell me, which other country should host an NBA game? Here we go.
All right, with apologies to Lee, wherever he is, I'm not going to pick Australia. I'm going to go with the Philippines. They should get a regular season game because that country is absolutely mad about basketball. They're so crazy into the NBA. They've had all 4 of the starters on like their CNN sports desk show to talk ball. Now, they had a preseason game back in 2013, Rockets-Pacers. They've got the arena now. They've showed that it's like 5 or 6 years old. They can host a regular season game. They got the suites and they got the big stadium. I think it's the Philippines. They're nuts.
There is a country in
Hey,
Europe that
you don't have to apologize to
What's going on here? My
Only
mind's blown.
2 continents in the world have never hosted an NBA game. You know what they 2 are?
What?
Antarctica and
What?
Australia.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
ends right now. The next time there is an international regular season game, I don't want just pre-season game. It's going down under, baby. 2 games, one in Melbourne, one in Sydney. Since 2005, 3 #1 picks have been born in Melbourne. Bogut, Kyrie
now we're gonna
Irving,
count Kyrie
and
Irving as
Ben. He was
Australian?
born there. I didn't say he was Australian. I said he's born
Oh,
there.
man.
I refuse to have a game.
Raise my hand now!
Tag team victory for
It's a tag team.
Yes! We're coming. We're coming. It's coming. It's happening. Next
Unbelievable.
year.
All right, quick break. When we return, we will revisit some of our favorite President Obama basketball moments. Don't go anywhere. You're watching The Starters. We got the crew handing out high fives around here. They're so fired up.
Welcome back to the show. Last night, we watched Barack Obama make his last public speech as president. And as basketball fans, we're going to miss a basketball-loving president. And that's why we decided to compile the most memorable Barack Obama NBA moments.
This game, of course, was highlighted by the arrival of President Barack Obama, who lives, at least for the next 4 years, right down the street.
I usually have guys with guns around, so if somebody, takes a real hard foul, they could get in trouble.
The Democrats. Obama slams it in.
Nobody ever lets me win because if you let me win, you'll never hear the end of it. I'll talk a little trash about you. I'll make you feel bad about yourself.
What are y'all doing with this rookie, man? Is he carrying the bags and stuff?
On Kiss Cam a moment ago, a presidential smooch.
I've been a fan of Coach Jackson's ever since his days running the triangle offense in Chicago. I want to congratulate him on his 10th NBA championship, the most in history. I do want to point out that 6 of them came with the Bulls. There's a long-standing tradition of welcoming championship sports teams to the White House. Kobe and Derek have been there so many times now they could lead tours themselves. Clearly, Dirk is a tough guy, although the most painful thing may have been his rendition of We Are the Champions. And we're in the White House right now. This is like, hey, Mama made it. I think we should take a picture, but we should make it quick before one of these guys starts yelling at Mario. I want the coach to know that he is not contractually obligated to take questions after the first quarter of my remarks. It is rare to be in the presence of guys from the greatest team in NBA history. So we're pretty lucky today because we've got one of those players in the house, Steve Kerr from the 1995-96 Chicago Bulls. Give it up for the world champion Cleveland Cavaliers. That's right, I said world champion and Cleveland in the same sentence.
Tell JR and everybody to put on a shirt, though.
Okay, I will. I definitely will.
You can't be just walking around without a shirt.
Okay, I definitely will.
Jump man, jump man, jump man. This boy is up to something. He just spent like 2 or 3 weeks out of the country. You don't need this little clip art over here, so let's take that out. Elbow in a little bit. All right, release. Make sure it's on your fingertips. Oh, man.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. That's science right there. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those of us who grew up playing basketball, whether on a playground in the city or a farm in the heartland, are grateful to the game for the lessons it teaches us about life. You can talk a good game all you want, but when it matters, you better back it up. And with that, I just have 2 more words to say. Obama out.
You
I'm
can
out.
see why we're going to miss the Prez, obviously. So we decided to give Mr. Obama something he will never, ever wear.
Yeah.
But hey, why not? It's a starter's t-shirt.
Let's give it to
Yeah.
him.
Just
Large.
come in and pick it up, Barack. We'll make space for you here at the desk. And
All we know
be
is a
great.
dress.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, look at him.
It's a great shirt to ball in.
Yeah, it is.
Very
Yeah.
comfortable.
And he likes to tuck in his shirt. It's a large shirt. It'll be perfect.
Yeah, it's extended.
Yeah, we got to start working on some starters track pants. Some branded starters track pants. All right, final break. When we come back, Lely's very solid play. Don't go anywhere. We asked you earlier in the show, what's the most embarrassing end-of-game moment you've seen? You hit us up on Twitter, #TheStarters. Trey has a few of your best answers.
Yeah, a lot of great responses, but I'm sorry to do this, Skeets and Tess. These are all Raptors embarrassments that people sent in, like Connor, who said when DeRozan hit the game winner, but Coach Casey called timeout. Sabonis Goat says, when Caron Butler stole the ball from Jonas Valanciunas with a few seconds on the clock and tried to score. Super weird moment, and I know this is Tass's favorite. Tim Butter says, Chris Childs forgets the score.
Oh, that's the worst.
Sorry, guys.
Dirty. 2002. Bleak time.
So much time on the clock, Childs. What are you doing? Here's tonight's pick and play. We got Tass, the only one taking the Sixers at home. Everyone else believes in the Knicks. Derrick Rose is back.
I don't know about believe.
Derrick Rose, we found him and he's playing. So good luck to everybody. Lely, where are we going for very solid play?
We're going out to Utah for that great game against the Cavs last night, and look at Joe Johnson on this play. Misses a shot, but just keep your eye on Joe because he stays in the play. That's what you got to do. You got to always tell the kids stay in the play. Look at that beautiful little tap to Derek Favors, who throws in a dunk. You know dunks usually aren't in very solid plays, but I'll make an exception because of this beautiful tap pass.
Ooh,
that
is
beautiful, nice finish. That's what I call a very solid play.
Very solid fundamentals, Joe Johnson. Got some great news, guys. As we're recording, we had a wedgie! Tonight, right now, as we're recording, we had a wedgie in Philadelphia. That game we were just talking about, it gets stuck. Right here, first quarter, a few minutes in.
Yeah,
that's
clean.
the beauty of doing a show live.
Yeah.
At 7 Eastern, we get a wedgie.
Let's update the board. Let's update the board. While you're doing that, I want to remind you, tomorrow, we got a 3 p.m. Eastern game because it's the Pacers and Nuggets as part of the Global Games in London, England. So catch that here on the network coverage beginning at 2 p.m. Eastern. There we go. Lee has updated the board, and we got some fan signs, Lee.
Oh, yes, we do. The first one is in Toronto. It's from Julie and her son. Took along a great sign there that says a lot of starterisms and things on there. Embrace this poster, people. Then Trey, Tyler, and Spencer out in Utah with the first ever triple header of fan signs at a game.
Respect.
Great job, guys. Keep them coming.
All right. Again, enjoy the game from London tomorrow here on the network, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Thanks for joining us, folks. Number 19 on the season, and as the 44th President of the United said, Obama out.
Race the day, people.